Welcome back to the weekly Brooklyn property market update, brought to you, of course, by England Volker's Brownstone, Brooklyn, and by myself, Katriona, Kearney, and Donald Brennan over there in our Cobble Hill shop. How are you, Donald?
Pretty good, Katriona. Having a good day here. Lots of activity, kind of late activity out there, which we'll touch on a little bit later, but it's pretty busy, which is great.
So last week, across the 16 key neighborhoods that we track with our weekly data report, we saw what we would call the usual high number of new to market and in contract listings for that below 2.25 million market. Tell us about the numbers, Donald.
Sure thing. So on the new to market side, we're 77, which is effectively equal to what happened last week, which is a pretty big rebound over the previous week, which is the holiday kind of 4th of July weekend kind of lull. And on the, more importantly for me anyway, on the in contract side, a much higher number, 85 deals going into contract last week, which is the highest number in over 6 weeks. So great to see that continuation of that strength at this kind of price point under 2.25. It's just powering ahead, and inventory getting further reduced, but still a significant number of buyers active out there.
So when we look at the luxury market above 2.25 million, things have perhaps slowed up a little bit when you look at the new to market in contract numbers. And as we know, this is a buyer pool that typically does take a little bit of a pause over the key summer months. So is that actually happening?
Seems to be. We had 12 new to market listings last week and 14 go into contract. So that's a good relationship, more into contract than coming on the market. So a little net positive absorption right there. But yeah, historically slowish, people doing other things out of town, focused on maybe family time, vacations, whatever, last year being an exception. But it's really interesting right now. What I'm seeing, I think you're seeing the same, Katriona, is that there's this kind of jockeying for position going on right now with families or people who need a certain size home, I should say, and which are townhouses, and as far as we're concerned, and active, like motivated, active buyers with some urgency in the marketplace right now, which is like a little late historically, but definitely trying to secure their housing for the fall because things are continuing to unfold with schools and back to work.
So the townhouse aficionados out there would tell us that there's a pecking order of neighborhoods when it comes to the typical value of a townhouse. What is that actually looking like these days?
Well, what's typically occurred is there's been a ranking. Generally, we track this in our quarterly reports. It's on page 12 in our table of townhouses, and we rank the neighborhoods by gross price. And what we typically see with some anomalies on occasion of changing position, it's Brooklyn Heights, Cobble Hill, Carroll Gardens. Last quarter that went further, Park Slope, Fort Greenborn Hill, Clinton Hill. And, there's some movement there, 4, 5, and 6, sometimes 2 and 3, but it's kind of fairly standard. And that is the perception when I'll look at the top 3, talking to people in the marketplace, that they are definitely, buyers are ranking those neighborhoods in that order. Brooklyn Heights, Cobble Hill, Carroll Gardens of value. And what's really interesting is that our second quarter report for closed sales indicates that the demand, the interest, the desirability of Carroll Gardens is currently on par on a trailing 4-quarter average of gross price as the measurement between Carroll Gardens and Cobble Hill. So that hasn't been like that in a very long time. So that's really interesting, completely understandable. The housing stock in Carroll Gardens is much bigger. It's like over 1,400 townhouses versus 900 for Cobble Hill. So that's 67% more. And so there's more to choose from, but there's certainly some great blocks, deep garden blocks, the place blocks, first place, second place, third place, and really attractive real estate there. So for me, it's not a surprise, but I think the buyer pool will be surprised as to where those prices are falling out right now.
And it's interesting because I think that correlates when you look at the number of active and in contract townhouses in those 3 neighborhoods. So in Brooklyn Heights, we have 17 active and 5 in contract. In Cobble Hill, we have 6 active and 14 in contract. And in Carroll Gardens, we have 16 active, but 20 in contract.
Yeah, so, looking at a percentage of those on the market active listings to the housing stock in those neighborhoods, Brooklyn Heights at 17, that's 3% of the housing stock of over just over 500 housing units there of 1 to 4 family. Cobble Hill, much tighter. It's under 1%, almost 0.5% at 6 versus 987 units in that marketplace. And Carroll Gardens just between those, closer to Cobble Hill at 1% active. They have 1,461 units there, 16 active on the market. So it's a big number for Carroll Gardens, but understand because it's a larger set of inventory. But the in contract side of that is really impressive. And again, I'm pointing back to what we just talked about, is average trailing 4-quarter price being equal. So there's a kind of indifference there if you're looking at the same priced asset to Cobble Hill, Carroll Gardens at the moment, and in the closed sales data. And this, to me, we don't know what the prices of all these are going to close, but there could be a kind of continuation of that, which would be very interesting. Those things take time, right? We were talking about this earlier about, public perception and, moving along with the herd sometimes of like, which neighborhood do you live in? Where do you prefer? And those things don't happen overnight. So as far as I'm concerned, it's fantastic because plenty of great choices in Carroll Gardens for sure.
So if someone was shopping for a townhouse right now and they didn't have an experienced agent by their side, what is the top tip we would give them, apart from obviously call us?
Yeah. So and looking at these kind of buyers out there right now who are trying to secure something very quickly, almost kind of move in simultaneously, don't want to get hung up with open permits or violations on buildings, right? That's the number one issue. And if you have a timeline constraint here, those things are seriously problematic, especially open permits. The system here in New York City is not very quick to begin with, and then COVID and post-COVID circumstance, nothing happens overnight. So definitely want to make sure nothing's going on there that's going to sidetrack your ability to close and take possession and secure that housing.
That's for sure. So that's it from us this week. Come back next week when we'll have more accurate and informed observation and some top tips, of course. Thank you, and see you next week.
Take care, Katriona. Talk to you next week.